Welcome back to another episode of the Dynamics Compass podcast, where we bring in the experts so you don't have to figure it all out the hard way. Today, I'm joined by Jon Rivers, co-founder and COO of Marketeery, a fractional CMO agency helping ERP and CRM partners level up their marketing without having to build a full in-house team. John's been in the Dynamics ecosystem for years. He's seen the marketing wins, the face plans, and the missed opportunities when it comes to partners wanting to help customers move from legacy systems to Business Central. So if you're a Microsoft partner wondering why your upgrade campaigns aren't landing or how to stop preaching to the converted and start shifting real pipeline, this is the episode. Jon, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Rory, for having me on the podcast as well. And thanks for the introduction. It's appreciated.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I'll start with a question. I know a lot of people in the ecosystem know about you already, but what is something not a lot of people know about you?
Oh, we're starting to run out of answers to that now because I keep sharing stuff recently. Uh, I'm just going to use the one that, even that I've put it out there, and I think quite a few people have seen it. But I'm a classic Volkswagen Fusium. So I have an old Volkswagen car that I
Yeah,
like to go out to events and stuff. That to me is really probably the piece. I mean, there's probably plenty of other things about me. I think one I know that I've used before is being shut down by Twitter many times, literally as a spammer. But
yeah,
I wasn't spamming. But I think I feel like I've overused that one.
yeah. Okay. What a specific type of Volkswagen, like punch buggies or Beetles, or do you have a specific type or anything Volkswagen?
No, I love anything that's, I mean, I love everything that's Volkswagen. So it's probably anything, I mean, even the newer stuff, but I would say anything that's prior to probably the 80s. Um, I actually have myself personally, I actually have a Common Gear, 1973 that, and actually I'm looking at your t-shirt now, and it's actually pretty much the same color.
Yeah,
So thanks for
great
wearing
color.
that.
It's a great
Yeah.
color.
Thanks for wearing that. So yeah, so that's my little baby. I mean, I love it all. I mean, this weekend just gone, Memorial Weekend, uh, we were able to get, or actually some organizers were able to get together and work with the St. Petersburg, Florida government and actually let them actually go and have a car event actually on the pier. Not
Oh yeah,
physically, there's a green area, and there was about 100 and probably close to 150 cars. That's where they were maxed out.
yeah,
So that was fun to go and hang out. So there was everything from common gears, the Beatles to buses. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I just love the environment. I mean, I've always loved it.
yeah. Oh, that's really cool. And not an answer I was expecting today.
There you
Maybe
go.
I don't know you enough. I haven't been following you enough if I didn't know that.
Well, maybe that's the same to others then. That they didn't know that either.
Yeah. Um, well, thanks again for coming on today. You don't necessarily come from a background like you didn't start your career in marketing, I believe, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Could you give a brief insight on your background, just so people will understand with your or they will buy into your answers
Ho-
during this
Hopefully
conversation.
they'll buy into, right? Maybe there's a bit more trust there as well.
Yeah.
So I actually trained as a developer from college.
Hmm.
This is going to probably date me. I mean, at the end of the day, I trained on COBOL, Pascal. In my time, I've done some assembly and all that stuff. So that's where I started my career.
Yeah.
Um, then actually worked for a company that actually, my first ever job, actually worked for a company that actually manufactured basically fonts. So back in the day, nowadays everything is electronic, right? We knew of TrueType fonts and that, but back
Hmm.
years ago, you used to have these cartridges that used to plug into printers that gave you the fonts that you needed,
Yeah.
right? So if
Okay.
you needed Helvetica or whatever it is, we were the leading company that actually built those font cartridges. We literally shipped thousands, tens of thousands around the world to HP and all the big printer manufacturers. So
Yeah.
that was a big thing. I mean, that's where I started off. I actually started off putting those cartridges over time. I actually then took over the team and led that. A little funny sidebar, funny piece on that is that our busy time was always the springtime because we had to meet criteria at that point more than the rest of the year. And so we used to work a lot of overnight hours.
Yeah.
And so when we worked late, we were allowed to expense food. So we used to bring food in. We went through probably every type of food there was, from pizza to Chinese to Indian food, and everything else around that.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where everyone started to lean towards Indian food. Back then, I was living back in the UK, and we actually turned to Indian food as a staple diet.
Yeah.
And we basically had an account at the Indian restaurant that literally we just billed towards, and it was just crazy stuff. Let's roll forward a little bit. I cut my time into later on into ERP. I started in the JD Edwards space. I was then working, implementing and consulting an ISE solution basically back then
Okay.
that bolted into JD Edwards.
Yeah.
Um, Roll forward a little bit more. JD Edwards then acquired by PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft
That's
got acquired by
Oracle.
Oracle. That pretty much overnight, near enough destroyed our business
Yeah.
that I was working for. So we started to look out there. So that was running on basically JD Edwards World and One World.
Yeah.
So a lot of mainframe experience from back in those days. Roll forward a little bit more. The ISV I was working for, we had to look at another product. So we started looking at Dynamics.
Yeah.
So back then we were looking at Great Plains, Navision, Exapta, and you can sense that, right? I'm using the old school names.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically, someone came up and said, well, why don't we look at GP? So I was part of the team to actually start to look at where we could go. And we looked at GP and said, look, the price point's not going to make sense for us. What about this product called Exapta? So basically, myself and a developer, we went out and wrote some X++ code to integrate the ISV solution we were working on at that time.
Yeah.
So so I got into a little bit of X++ programming as well. It mainly left it to the developer, but I'd have to do some things. And then we bought a product to the market. The product was called Crateform. The company that owned it at the time was Bottom Line Technologies. And once that came out, my role was then to get the partners to actually start to look at taking this on board.
I see where
To
this is
start to
going.
see this career is changing, right?
Yeah.
So I probably got a lot more into with that is more and more consulting, but now getting into pre-sales to sell it, right? Not just the partners to the end users. And I still laugh at when I'm thinking this one, and I think of pre-sales is, and I was joking this with someone the other day, was I really wanted to have a slide deck and put all the answer, the questions that people were going to ask, because we pretty much had the same question asked every single time, and I
Yeah.
wasn't allowed to do it. But I got more into pre-sales, did a lot of that, and indirectly, I was doing channel sales.
Yeah.
We technically had a channel person, but indirectly, I was the one that had the
Doing that.
relationship. So at that point, I really felt that my calling was to get into channel sales at that time. So I hopped over to another ISV called Data Masons. I was one of their early, I think I was there about number 23, 24, and joined them to run their whole channel. So I ran that, helped them build out into the Exapta, AX, and then GP and Navision. But as part of that role, we were small, so we had a part-time marketing person, but that person was more spent on doing really on the end user marketing. So I got a little
Okay.
bit of a time, but not a lot. So I ended up doing a lot of my own marketing, getting approval, of course. I turned to LinkedIn, and I've told a few people this one as well. I was on LinkedIn doing social selling before the social selling word was
Became a
even
thing.
coined, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was something like, I think I joined LinkedIn within the first year or two of it coming out. And I
Yeah.
used that to build up, and I connected to everyone that made sense for what I was doing. So I was doing a little bit of marketing, um, getting called in by Microsoft and all that to train other partners and ISVs on what we were doing. And then, was it now? It was 10 years ago. I started to see that there was a need for partners and ISVs when it came to social media.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them didn't fully get it. And if they did, they didn't want to execute on it. They wanted someone to do it for them. And that's where I
Yeah.
started up my first marketing agency called Marketing Monarchs. We
Yeah.
really focused in on that for those customers. We saw a niche, grew the business. That turned into to feed the beast for basically social unique content. So we
Yeah.
started doing content creation. And that became very successful. Roll
Yeah.
forward, we got to COVID. Marketing Monarchs was still going, but some people I work with were contractors, very good. And you know, as my business partner Dan Sager, we just happened to sometimes we'd work on projects together, but as two contractors, two companies
Oh,
going in.
yeah.
And an opportunity came up, and it was like, okay, we just can't continue to go in to get two separate companies. It doesn't make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the midst of COVID, we decided to kick off Marketeery
Joint forces.
and join forces. Now, we still kept our individual companies we had, and they're
Mm-hmm.
still out there today, but we joined forces and we were able to close that account. So delve deeper and deeper into marketing.
Yeah.
Took all that skills, brought a big team together to actually really get out there. But I think the key piece I look at, Rory, is having all that experience all the way, understanding how the products work,
Yeah.
right? Being in the deep end, I mean, if we just take one event, which is Community Summit, I think out of all the years that's been on, I think I've only ever missed two or three.
Yeah.
I remember being at, I always call the first one, even though there technically was one before that, but that was only a group of people around a table deciding what to do. So I've been involved in community from that side, from an end user, from a partner. I sat on the board of, for directions for many years,
Yeah.
helping that event grow. So it's trying to be in there. So more than just marketing,
Yeah.
right? But I understand it. I'm probably more here at Marketeery is more on the social, the analytics, the SEO, trying to work out how do we solve making sure companies now come up and get searched when someone searches in AI.
Yeah.
I'm more that using my technical experience drive that stuff.
Yeah.
Long
That's
background, but hey, we
but
got there in the end.
yeah, yeah. No, but I think it's really good with the questions that we're gonna discuss. It really explains why you would know the answer to these questions because they're not all marketing
Right,
related, but you've worn so many different hats that you know how well right now your target audience thinks or the
right,
target audience of your target audience um, because of your background and
right.
everything you've done. All right. I'll start with another more generic question. Since you've been in the dynamic space for so long, what do you see as the biggest reason companies still cling on to their legacy ERP system?
It's a tough one. Actually, I mean, it sounds like it's an easy question, but I think it's still a tough one. I think at the end of the
Hmm.
day is what I hear back from direct customers and the partners as well. I think if you just take the migration from say GP at the moment,
Hmm.
is that in their minds, some of the challenges is in their minds is still a number of years before it's sunsetted,
Yeah.
right? And even technically, even after that, it's still going to be alive, right? I mean, I don't know for you, Rory, but at the end of the day is I bumped into, it's about I would say nearly 2 months ago now, is out of the blue, I was happy to be talking to a partner and I said, yeah, we're doing a migration of a world to a Jenny
What?
Edwards world card,
Uh,
right? So that product has been sunsetted for years. And at the end of the day, and they're only just looking at it. So how did they survive that period of time?
hmm.
Probably consultants are out there still servicing it.
Yeah.
I think it's partly that. I think it's also cost is probably another area I would say on that moving. And
Yeah.
I think And I think I think at the end of the day is, I hate to say it, but I think there's also a lack of education
Okay.
of the pros and cons between the two. One of the areas I'd love to see more, and I'm going to give away some trade secrets here. I've been trying to negotiate with trying to get a little bit more of this out there, is let's see more of show and tell. This is how, and I'm going to just pick on GP and BC for this conversation, right?
Sure.
So it's like, show me, right? At the end of the day, show me how you do something in GP, show me how you do it in BC,
Hmm.
right? Show me, but at the same time, show the limitations, show the non-limitations of the other product, right?
Yeah.
Or if the end of the day is let's get down in the weeds here and say, okay, today you've got GP with these ISVs, but
Yeah.
when you move to BC, this feature you need is actually now embedded in the product. Well, hang on a minute, this feature is partly embedded, but you actually still need an ISV to solve the other half. And either your current ISV, yes, they can handle that still for you, or if they can't, what ISV can.
Yeah.
I really think that we're not doing a deep enough education on educating the existing customer base out there as well, which is one of the things that we've been trying to do with some programs we've been doing with Stratus and Microsoft, is really getting out there and educating the power of moving to the cloud.
Yeah. That's what I've seen as well. I see a lot of messages like and this is on LinkedIn. I see a lot of messages indeed. Reasons why to move to BC, leave your old ERP, leave your legacy because it slows you down, move to
Right.
the new. But indeed, that what you're saying, show me how it works, show me how it works in GP or NAV, show me how it
Right.
works in BC. I believe it will lower the barrier for people, or at least trigger like, oh, maybe this is something we should start looking at.
Right. I think it takes away, right? It takes away that worry that or uncertainty of like, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to be moving to a new ERP.
Yeah,
I mean, I hate to say it, it's not. I mean, we all use it in marketing. We talk about migration, but technically, it's a
it's an
new
implementation.
implementation.
Yeah,
It's not a migration. Yes, I've said it just for anyone who's listening. But in a marketing world, we're going to still say it's a migration, right? Because we want the customer to feel comfortable. But it's building up that trust with the customer, and really is the key. It's like, look, it's not too much different, but look what you get. Look at all the, I don't know, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here, but think of all the Power BI capabilities now you have. Yes,
yeah,
you could probably do some of that, but could you look at that? Look at what maybe Power Automate could do for you, right? Can
yeah,
I bring that bring some processes in place that I never could do before? But
yeah,
at the same time, let's take that back a step of trying to broker that move from legacy to cloud, of that nervousness is, why not do some little things that maybe help move, right?
yeah,
Maybe they are running GP. Could you find a way to implement some of the Power Platform products in there? Start building that capability, start building that trust. So
hmm,
therefore, the customer starts to now get more and more ingrained into the new technology,
yeah,
but doesn't feel that they had to take their whole ERP and move that. You're doing it in a gradual, but what you in the real terms, I think that if you go down that road, you're actually starting to lock them in, because if they like what they see, they're going to want to stay within the Microsoft ecosystem and
yeah,
products, right?
yeah. That's isn't that that's kind of the same strategy that Microsoft is doing by providing like field services as a standalone or sales as a standalone to have non-Microsoft clients get a taste of the
Right.
Dynamics ecosystem. Like, oh, I actually like this.
Yep.
What else do they have?
Yeah, I think, I mean, definitely I would see that. I mean, I think there's one other one that we're starting to see a movement happening. I think for a long time, a lot of partners were not educating their existing customers,
Hmm.
right? So, I mean, and sorry, partner, but I'm not
That's
going to call you out. But at the end of the day, there was one partner, but pretty much that we were dealing with through the Stratus environment program, and they pretty much put themselves on selling GP on hold for about 2, 3 years, and they were just living off of recurring and maintenance and all that. So they were not taking any more because they didn't know where GP was going,
yeah,
and they didn't feel BC at that time was really baked enough. So they held back, but that hurt their business. Now they're starting to get more into it. Now, yes, they're probably having to hire a few external people to actually help them and their team build up,
yeah,
but they're now starting to sell GP, right? Sorry, sell BC
yeah,
if that's moving existing customers or bringing in brand new opportunities. But they were
yeah.
nervous about it, and it hurt them. But I think at the bottom line to this is if you're not educating, how does the customer get to know?
I, w- I was just gonna say it sounded like they weren't educating themselves, and
No,
therefore they couldn't
neither.
educate their clients.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, they were actually nervous of BC. I mean, this is just taking one part. They were nervous of it. They weren't as probably familiar with it. They would go to events, but they weren't deep in it.
Yeah,
And I think it also, I think we went, I mean, hey, Microsoft, hey, we go through this with Microsoft. We have their goods and bad times,
yeah,
but there were some hiccups when BC originally came out and it going through some not so good times with how they announced it to the community and stuff like that.
yeah,
And but I think over the last, I'm now probably going to change my comment to now say more like 2 years, but maybe it's a year and a half. The product's becoming more and more baked,
yeah.
and we do see where it's going. It is a great product, and that's not just because I work in the environment, but it is a good product.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. So trying to find a way to move these legacies is important.
Yeah. So if we then look at the partner that is educated and is making an effort to convince their clients,
Right.
what's the biggest mistake you've seen them make trying to convince their customers to migrate?
Um, I would say again, it's making sure you're educating the right way. It's not just, I think at the end of the day is maybe we still talk about it like, and I'm just thinking it through here and at the end of the day, talking it through is like constantly harping on about moving to cloud, but really start to find the benefits, right? Show
Hmm.
the benefits. I still even think the ones who are well educated go and do the show and tell, right? Start educating. I think even in the experienced ones, we're not doing that enough. Still there, right?
Yeah.
We harp on about this, but let's go on about some of the other things about the power, right? What can we do with the product that maybe is limited? Um, yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I think the story is very similar, but not 100%.
Yeah. Why do you think they aren't getting it right? Do they not, is that a lack of understanding how marketing works or how to sell to their customers? Do they not understand the customers, or is BC too new? They don't know how to sell it yet?
I don't think there's any. I wouldn't say they don't. I mean, again, it depends on the partners, right? At the end of the
Hmm.
day, if they've got a good, strong marketing team, I'm sure they get it, right? But I think there's just we're battling a different world to what we did years ago from maybe migrations or moving something from a legacy system.
Yeah.
We now have the customer has so many opportunities to look at other products,
Yes.
right? I mean, nowadays the amount of ERPs are out there that could do probably the job. I'm not even going to say the number, but there's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Even if we were to call out some of them like Acumatica, NetSuite, Sage, right? They're just three. And
Yeah.
they're going after the Dynamics legacy customers, right?
Yeah.
And they're heavily going after it. So how do we I mean, I think the end of the day is that battle against them. It's having that knowledge about what they're doing as well to
Mhm.
help you counter that. But I still think of looking at the products that come around it. Don't always just look at, hey, we're going to upgrade you, but hang on a minute, my GL was the same, right? It just
Yeah.
looks different, different screen, but it's still a GL.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. What's the power again? I'm going to bring in what's the power of the Power Platform? What's the power of Copilot, right? I mean, we saw not too long ago at Directions Microsoft talk about AI agents. How can we bring that into the conversation?
Yeah.
Maybe that's too much sometimes for some customers to adapt to. So you got to, it's near enough, we got to get into that more targeted of understanding our customer base and saying, are we got to talk, and I hate to say this, old school way,
Yeah.
or are we talking a modern way, depending on the company we're talking to?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, in your work with ISVs and partners, how have you seen targeted educational marketing move the needle on customer engagement and buying intent?
I think it's definitely when you're more targeted, at the end of the day, you start to see that needle move, right? I think again, we'll just again, hopefully anyone who's listened to this is, I'm not trying to do anything negative here, but at the end of the day, historically, when we sold an ERP, we would probably not care about an industry, right? We would just go out there, industry, vertical, whichever word you want to use.
Yeah.
It's basically whatever came our way, we're going to implement, right?
Yeah.
Today, it is so much more important to be very, very focused, right? It's like, what are you after? Target, where is your success, and go after that. The more targeted you are, if you're going to go after dentistries or whatever, maybe you had a few of those. Can you target them? Is there enough? Go after it, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to be more successful from that because you really have a target audience. I think that's where we're evolving as well,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's a key piece I would see for both the partner and the ISV. It's like, and just go after that area you're looking for.
If companies start nailing that, it means that even the brand new partners can now go up against the bigger ones if they
Yeah,
get their marketing and their niche right.
I think so. At the end of the day, and let's just go into, right? I mean, now we're going to get into a bit more marketing, right? At the end of the day, traditional search is changing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was always trying to be on the first page on Google or Bing, right? So when you
Yeah.
search, you're coming up there. And that sometimes was a challenge for the small players to be there,
Yeah.
right? But with the evolution of AI and chat and Copilot and Perplexity and all the others, is now people are using those tools to search as well.
Hmm.
And actually, that's taking away some of that search that typically would have gone through the traditional way.
Yeah.
So that is changing the game. It takes me back to the days of, and I didn't do tons of it, but I understood it, back to the days where we were trying to work out how we keyword stuffed stuff,
Yeah.
right? So we would write an article, we'd keyword stuff the hell out of that article just to make sure it ranked. But over time, of course, Google and all that started to downgrade you if you overdid that.
Yeah.
But we're going through this evolution, I think, with chat, with AI search, where we're all trying to work it out. But it's an opportunity for big or small, and actually, I
Yeah.
think more small to actually show up because they can be more agile in what they do
Yeah.
to meet the requirements. The
Yeah.
downside, I think, is how bought in is the smaller partners executive team. If they're not bought in on marketing, then
Uh-huh.
it's going to be a harder piece to do. When
Yeah.
they're bought in and understand that, hey, I get it, and I'll put my hands up here, right? Everyone wants leads. We
Yeah.
all want them today, not tomorrow, today. But some of these things that we have to do, we have to put the foundation in. And
Yeah.
it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. We got to build, right? I mean, I've got to know you over a period of time, but one of the things I would say about you is your branding, right? I mean, at the end of the day, is what you give away, what color shirt maybe you wear, whatever, right? It's who you are and what you do as a brand. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily going to happen today. It's over that period of time. And I think we have to get some of the execs to change their mindsets and invest, but you don't have to necessarily invest a lot. But there is a change happening, I think, for smaller partners as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, by the way, if people understand why I'm always dressed in orange. Um, I don't think that many people would understand. I bet you understand
I
why.
do. Maybe it's time, Roy, that you actually shared it with them.
Um, yeah. So orange is the national color of the Netherlands. and a little bit of a history to make it a bit more confusing. The Netherlands was occupied by Spain one day, and the person that led the resistance, that started the resistance, was a guy born in Germany who owned land in France, but in the region of Orange, and he became our first king and royal, and we still have the royal family, and they are the family of Orange. So orange is the national color of the Netherlands that I'm always wearing on these videos.
Yeah. And the reason I know it is it's more, I'm going to actually say it the proper English way, football, right?
Oh yeah,
Not soccer for everyone, but football. That's
yes,
how I knew as well with Rory. But yeah,
yeah, the football that you actually play with your feet.
right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Just looping back a little bit before my brief history lesson. Um, are are partners still too generic in their marketing efforts? As in too generic in their targeting?
I think there is a little bit of that as well, Rory. I think people are in some cases. I mean, I think it's. I think where I'm trying to answer that is at the end of the day, you've got, and again, we're I'm sorry, GP partners, we're picking on you a lot here, but that's a big area for migrations, right? And
Hmm.
moving legacy. But I think at the end of the day is traditionally your customers are all over the place, right? It makes it hard, especially for smaller partners, to be really targeted,
Yeah,
right? Because at the end of the day, you just don't have the bandwidth. So it's finding a balancing situation where you can balance how you talk to those people. So it's even that you are not necessarily vertically, you're sort of horizontal, but you talk maybe on a feature. It's like maybe we go in and we talk about all the benefits of Power Automate, or you go in and talk about Copilot or something, right? That
yeah,
really crosses the board, but it's still very sort of focused,
yeah.
right? I think that's key. I did want to re-wrap back to something I was saying earlier on about the opportunity for small partners to now start appearing in AI search. But what I'm also going to say as well, don't stop thinking about traditional, because traditional's not going away for a long time, and Google and all that is going to try to evolve their own AI. So
Hmm.
you got to sort of look at both. We're on the very early days of AI search, and what we know today, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever it is, it could be totally different.
Yeah,
So I'm going to again, I'm putting both hands up here and say whatever I tell you is the way to go today with that, and try to get yourself on AI search. Maybe right in what we know today, but
yeah,
tomorrow changes the game again. It goes back to what we said earlier on about, hey, we thought keyword stuffing was a good thing, or buying backlinks.
yeah,
Eventually, Google caught on to that and started penalizing. We might see that in AI search at some point.
yeah, yeah. I'll be curious where this is gonna go, but indeed, I've been given the advice as well. Keep doing all the other
Right.
um, vehicles, avenues as
Yep.
well, not just pure 100% AI.
Exactly. And I think podcasts are, I put podcasts up high on my list. I know at the end of the day, as a marketing company, we don't do enough. We don't do one ourselves. We should. We've talked about it. Some of it's a little bit of bandwidth of just getting it in place at the moment.
Hmm.
Excuse me. But I would say that's a great place to be doing if you've got the time to do that.
Yeah,
But yeah, still keep on the traditional stuff route as well.
yeah. No, that's good. Um, Next question. When should a partner start educating their existing NAV or GP customers about Business Central in this case? And how would you do that without triggering panic or pushback?
It should have been started long time ago. I
Yeah,
think at the end of the day is I think at the end of the day is I think we got to be honest with ourselves is at the end of the day there's two folds going on here is the competition, the NetSuites, the Sages, the
yeah,
Acumaticas. They're targeting your customers, right?
yeah,
So don't believe they're not, but they are targeting. And we've got another elephant in the room that's also looking to target as well. And that's the big one, and that's Microsoft. right? There has been conversations that if you are not transacting BC, Microsoft could go after, or and it's actually not could, they will possibly go after your customer base and start targeting those customers, and either by sharing that information with some other partners that they believe they trust in moving those customers to BC. So at the end of the day, that needs to be done now. The other part of that question you said was, how do I not scare them? I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day is we can play. I mean, it's funny because sometimes here at Marketeery, we like to play on the fear, right? It's just a human thing. When we're scared about something, we react to it,
Yeah.
right? So fear sometimes can actually be beneficial, but I think it's educating about not really knocking the products, the legacy products. They're great products, but really talking about what is the next generation? What can you do? How can you improve? And I think we also got to look at the other one, Rory, is let's just take maybe a manufacturer, right, which was historically started off many years ago by grandparents or the dad, right?
Yeah.
They're probably getting older, and now the daughter, the son is now coming up through the business.
Yeah.
Their mindset is going to be so different probably from the top of the older generation.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day is you can guarantee they're looking anyway, right? Because they want to bring in what efficiencies they know, right?
Yeah.
Maybe dad or grandpa really doesn't get Instagram or LinkedIn. It's like they just don't get it and how that can drive business for some.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're just not on board on it. So that can happen in everything. It's like, so I think it's finding that balance act of you got to educate the customers
Yeah.
existing, right? But at the same time, not scare them. So it's
Yeah.
putting the right content in front that is going to be beneficial. So I like more educational, thought leadership, that type of stuff. I do like some of the scare tactics sometimes
Yeah.
where it's appropriate, but also learn from the mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's more than marketing. Get on the phone and talk to your customers. I mean, I know some partners I've come across that probably all they're doing is just taking the recurring revenue from their customers and they're not talking to them on a regular basis. I mean, it happens in the
Yeah.
MSP world as well. It's like talk to your customer on a regular basis, check in with them,
Because if you
whatever
don't,
it is.
someone else will.
Yeah, someone else is. So the end of the day is um, it's just finding that balance. I mean, I had again through the Stratus program, we actually had one partner come through that basically didn't within the program we were doing multiple things and emailing was one area to touch the customer base, which we know is successful there.
Yeah.
But this partner did not want us to do the emailing because what they didn't want to do was scare off and they wanted to do it all very, very manually.
Mm.
Well, roll forward, we came back with them and did some work again with them, and we then started to actually email everyone. They got totally different responses in a good way on the second round
Okay.
because they did not hold back because they thought certain customers were saying to them, look, we don't want to move. That's not what they were saying. They just need to be educated more. But
Yeah.
because we could email the educational content that was being written, they were getting more and more educated. So they were getting ready, want to learn more about BC.
Yeah.
So I think there's still that piece that partners, and I get it, that they're scared they're going to lose that customer if they tell them too much.
Yeah.
But if you don't tell them, you're probably going to lose it anyway.
Yeah. It's, I think that the crucial piece with what you've been saying in many of these answers, educational. I have seen a lot of messages indeed where it really feels like scaring, and you are saying like scaring can help because it
Right.
moves people into action. Um, but I think, especially in the GP world, there's a lot of customers that don't want to be scared into decisions. They're like, no, we're
Right.
gonna stay put and be hard-headed. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know if they'll be hard-headed, but
Well,
might
they
be.
could be. I mean, put it this way, at the end of the day is not everyone's going to move. There are
Yeah,
going to be, when we get to technically sunset time,
yeah,
there's going to be a ton of GP customers who are going to stay running the solution for many years. And
yeah.
there's going to be certain partners, stroke ISVs, who are going to support them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is that wrong or right? No, but at the same time, I think the key here is not losing these ones who are looking to migrate
Yeah.
and going somewhere else and keeping it in the Dynamics family,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's the key.
And even the ones that do decide to stay, they should do so well informed, knowing
Correct.
what they're not doing and why they're
Right.
doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and maybe again, it goes back to an earlier answer I gave you. It's like if they're not wanting to move, can you implement some other parts of the Microsoft stack?
Yeah.
So you build up a deeper trust with them. They
Yeah.
start to rely on that, and then over time start to realize, hang on a minute, I do need to do a migration, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we're roll right back. I said I grew up in the my first ERP area was Jetty Edwards, and it was World.
Yeah.
There are still many World customers out there to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to go back and probably start to quiz those people and start to say, why are you still there? At the end of the day, how do you still run your business? But they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing in my head. I'm looking at you. I'm laughing in my head, thinking the migration from World to One World. I used to go in and have to do the education of like once they moved to One World and how to use our solution. But many times I had to teach them how to use a mouse because they were a mainframe user. And now they have to use a mouse. It's like it's a funny thing to think about, but change is sometimes hard for folks,
Yeah.
right? But it's building again, it's just building up that trust, but stay in connection with that customer. I'm sure there's many partners who have probably lost customers to the competitors
Yeah.
because they have not stayed in contact and did not educate them on BC.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's going to be some that BC maybe not the right fit.
Of course. That
Let's
that's a
be
move.
honest.
That's another move that I'm seeing. Like there's even a GP group that's being pulled together, and they're now as a group they're going to explore other ERP systems that aren't
Right.
Microsoft. That's happening.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, yeah. I mean, look at the ISVs out there that historically were dedicated 150% in, right, with GP.
yeah.
What have they done? I mean, but I think also BC opened that door on the way ISVs could integrate,
Yeah.
right? So it opened the door. So you had a lot of GP. I mean, you either had to write in dexterity or whatever to integrate, right? And then things changed with BC in the way that way you could integrate into that, open the door up two ways, right?
Hmm.
That changed their mindset. So if they wanted to continue supporting this space, they had to rework theirs. And I know it's not a cheap thing to do, is to now support BC.
Yeah.
But what it did is it opened up the door because of that, open up the door to maybe build out their practice to go to Acumatica or somewhere else. But it
Yeah.
also opened up the door for other ISVs to come from a different ERP into this as well, right? So we've seen a lot of ISVs are coming in to solve. I was just trying to roll back to one of the things that, trying to remember which question it was, but I was just thinking about the challenge sometimes we have in the Dynamics world when we have to rely on ISVs on top of the product,
Yeah.
but it's also how we go in and sell that. Again, it goes to that basically it's the verticalization, right? Being focused.
Yeah.
If you're focused on, again, let's just take dentistries, right? If it's BC with some other maybe ISVs and other products on top, don't list it as a solution for dentistry.
Yeah.
Build it in and build it into your recurring revenue price. I mean, I think I've seen some successes as well with, I know we're going probably off on another tangent here, is in some cases doing a fixed install, right? A
Oh
fixed
yeah.
cost install, right? This is what I do and this is what you're going to cost,
Yeah.
right? And that for some partners, even this far down in the game, is still a challenge to really get in their heads. I think we went through the challenge of that migration from on-prem pricing
Yeah.
to SaaS pricing, right?
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with fix, and I think fix has been. I know some partners have been very successful with that model,
Yeah.
but it is a mindset change.
I'm seeing the conversation more and more happening, or people asking the question like, why are we still doing hourly rates?
Right.
Customer wants fixed rates. We
Yep.
that there's starting to be like a bit of a movement here.
Yeah. I mean, here at Marketeery, I mean, yes, we do that, but the majority of our customers are on a SaaS model.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where we go. Now, hang on a minute, we may have peaks and troughs through the year with that customer in cost
yeah,
because maybe one month we're writing an ebook, another month we're doing a video. That peaks and troughs through the year. But
yeah,
what we do is we flat it out, right? That means now you as a customer know that, hey, I'm going to spend 5K, 2K, 8K, whatever every month, and this
yeah,
is the services you're going to get. I
yeah.
think fixed really is a place we're going. I think also is just selling it, and I think this is where some of the transition is going. I had this conversation with someone last week in our space. I think that we're going to start to see maybe we're going to go through small pieces of the ERP implementation.
Hmm.
So if I only need this piece, that's all I install, right?
Yeah.
So we start to break it up into small nuggets, and
Hmm.
over time, I mean, you add on only what you need. I think world is going that way, and you're not having to buy this massive ERP that does everything that you don't need. You only
Yeah.
need these pieces. So I think we're going to start to move to that direction as well. But
I'd be
you know,
curious.
that's
I'd be
off.
very curious to see that.
Yep. I mean, I think we're off of that way off, but I don't think too far. I'd like to see where it goes with that, if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'll be going back to your video, this podcast on that to see if I was. Um, but at the end of the day, things are evolving. But it goes back to the more focused you are,
Yeah.
the more successful you're going to be.
Yep. I've got two questions left for you.
Okay.
Um, Many Microsoft partners underinvest in marketing. It's probably why you have a business. Is that a budgeting issue or a mindset problem? And how can leadership teams think more strategically about it?
I think in most cases, it's a mindset and executive understanding the importance of marketing. Um, Not to knock, I think years ago, selling ERP opportunities sort of came a lot from word of mouth and the approach we did. We
Hmm.
didn't put what we have to put in. And we go back, we didn't have the competition we had way back in time,
Yeah.
right? Nowadays, there's so much competition, you have to invest. Um, there's a lot of different numbers out there. I'm not going to throw one out, but of how much of your revenue you should be putting into marketing. And I think a lot of the time it's underestimated on what it should be,
Hmm.
and what you're returning on that. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, it's not just that, but it's understanding that it's not just all about a short game, right? It's
Yeah.
not, I was just thinking about something here. It's like, okay, maybe the shiny object today. Let's not just put in our effort for 3 months and then stop.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take 6, 9, 12, 24 months before that really starts to kick in. But you've got to get that foundation. I mean, I always like to use the analogy of building a house,
Yeah.
right? If you don't put in a good foundation, you're going to
Yeah.
have tons of issues later on,
Yeah.
right? The more successful your foundation is, the less issues. Maybe you just have to change that into marketing terms,
Hmm.
but it's putting the right investment. And sometimes you don't need to put in tens of thousands.
Yeah.
It's putting in the right amount and doing the right things.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. But there is, I think, for some execs, and again, I'm probably going to blow up the airways here, and someone probably not going to talk to me. It's like, you got to invest, guys. Got to keep on going. And I mean, I know some that even like during COVID, right? Some pulled back
Yeah.
because COVID, there was the uncertainty, but others doubled down.
Yeah.
I know with my other marketing agency that I was running, and even I saw in the early days of Marketeery, the ones who doubled down came out of it flying. The
Yeah.
ones that backed off then had to catch up again.
Yeah.
So even with where we are with maybe what's going on around the world today, is I'm not asking you to continue to double down. I'm continuing to say invest, not just for today, but your future if you
Yeah.
want to drive business. So I think it's an education But it's knowing what to spend. And if someone wants to know what to spend, come and talk to me. We'll have that conversation to understand what you need.
Yeah.
I don't want to just throw out a percentage just for the sake of it.
Yeah. I can see how it's not just a quick win, like, oh, I'll invest 3 months in marketing and that will give me an influx of leads and then I can stop and
Right,
save the money again. I'm not a Microsoft Dynamics user by all means, but whenever I do go and I have to procure something, I will look at my options to see, okay, how much content have these people created and how
right,
long have they been doing it for? If I see that someone has been doing it for a couple of years already, like, wow, this person has been active in this industry for quite some time and been sharing a lot of knowledge.
right.
So that's probably the same with the Microsoft partners and their marketing efforts. You're not gonna see a payoff straight away, but people will notice if they see that you've been doing it consistently,
Yep.
the return will come eventually.
Right. It's building that trust. It's your brand. I mean, the brand is key out there, right? There's
Yeah,
many of us in the marketing world that you can talk to, but brand is key. At the end of the day, is you got to have a good brand, big or small. And actually, I mean, again, there's a lot of smaller organizations that I have to say I'm amazed on how they're able to pull together what they do with the limited resources they do.
yeah,
But at the same time, they could be everywhere, but at the end of the day, is they're very strategic in what they do and what they share.
yeah,
So again, if they can do it, partners, why can't you? Maybe
yeah.
you don't have the skills internally. That's where we can come in and help. Or there's others out there can help you. But at the end of the day, you need marketing, full stop.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and it's understanding, right? We could get into this conversation longer. It's also how do you, I mean, things are always evolving on LinkedIn. If you're using LinkedIn, algorithms are changing. How do I stay top of mind there? Right. So, at the end of the day, is having that knowledge is really key. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard.
Yeah. Just the algorithms on LinkedIn is could be a
Oh,
whole topic, but
yep.
don't get me started. All right, last one. I think this is based on what you just said, this would be the great last question. If you could give one practical piece of advice to a Dynamics partner who wants to start shifting their legacy base to the cloud, what should they do this quarter to spark that momentum?
Start educating them on the benefits of BC, right? Just
With a
basically
show and tell, with a show and
with
tell.
either show and tell. Even if we take that back, right? If you feel they're not ready for BC, find something else in the Microsoft stack that you can put on to, and we're going to talk GP here, onto the GP system
Hmm.
that actually builds more reliance on you, more reliance on the Microsoft stack, all of that. I think
Yeah.
that's really, I think the show and tell, I still think webinars are really key, is have a regular webinar that does a series of maybe show and tells.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a great way to finish. And if anyone needs to know more or they want even more nuggets of wisdom, contact John. But at least do marketing because you can't just put it all um, on luck or your sales team. Your sales team needs help
Yeah,
with
well, I
marketing.
think it's not just luck, right? It's also you can't
Oh yeah.
rely on referrals all of it as well.
Yes.
I mean, referrals are great, but they will
You
dry up at some
you
point.
you can't forecast referrals.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
It was great. I've really enjoyed this conversation, John. A lot of insights and a lot of things that I can even apply to my business. So
There you
thank you
go.
for your wisdom.
No, thanks for having me on here, Rory. It's been good, and hopefully we don't get up against each other in the World Cup when that comes around. So
Hasn't happened in a while, I
no, it
think.
hasn't. It's
But
overdue, right?
yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Well, enjoy driving around the Volkswagen as well, and I'm sure
Yes, I will.
we'll speak again.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks
Bye,
for
John.
today.
Cheers. Thanks for watching this episode on the Dynamics Compass podcast. We decided to launch this podcast after having spoken to a lot of people in the community who seem to be looking for answers to the same questions. So then we decided, why don't we find experts in the market that have the answers, interview them, and then release that information for free to help everyone progress their Microsoft Dynamics journey. So we hope that you found this video very informative and helpful for you to continue your journey and keep moving forward. If you would like to hear about any other topics, please write to me on LinkedIn, email me, Rory at thegoodtalent.co, and we'd be happy to have a look. We'll look for the experts that have the answers. We'll interview them, and it will be freely available to you. Again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support as well, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.